I am Siddhartha Saha. Today I will be just taking a small topic in anatomy called the brachial plexus. It's a small topic, but the problem is it's a very high yielding topic, number one. Number two is we easily tend to be it's a very volatile topic, we tend to forget it very easily. So nothing to fear, but we can if we understand the concept of it and how it forms the branches, I think it's very easy to remember it. So first what we're going to do is we have to understand the meaning of the word called the plexus. Meaning of the word called the plexus. What does this word called plexus mean to us? Okay. So before that, we go into the meaning of the word called plexus. First, we have to have a brief idea about the cross-section of spinal cord. Means what is anterior rami, what is posterior rami. We'll just have a brief idea about it. So what we do, we first draw a cross-section of spinal cord, which looks like a butterfly-like shape. Okay, this is a cross-section of spinal cord, CS of spinal cord. Now, this is the ventral root. Sorry, this is a dorsal root, and this is the ventral root. This is the dorsal root, and this is the ventral root. We will be studying further that the sensory nerves from the periphery come to the dorsal root, and the motor nerves go out to the anterior horn of the spinal cord. Now, this motor nerve, they divide into two divisions, or we prefer to call as rami. So, one is called the posterior rami, other is called the anterior rami. Okay. So, this anterior rami will, when they form the anterior rami, when they mix together or they fuse together, join together, they form something we call as the word called plexus. So plexus, it just means like a network. It's a network of the nerves of the anterior rami of the spinal nerves, not the posterior rami. So be it a brachial plexus, be it a cervical plexus, be it a sacral plexus, be it a lumbar plexus, it's always a network of the anterior rami, not the posterior rami. So this is a brief idea of what do we mean by the word called plexus. Now, going further, we will just start with the topic brachial plexus. Now, before we start in brachial plexus, we have to understand few terminologies which we are going to use while studying brachial plexus. Number one is called the root of brachial plexus. Then we come into called trunk of brachial plexus. Then we come into the division of brachial plexus, and finally we finish off with the cord of the brachial plexus. Okay, so starting with the root. So before we go into the root, first you have to know there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves in our human body. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves in a human body. How to remember this? We have a formula: C7, T12, L5, S5 and C1. So if we add it, 7 plus 12, 18, 23, 28, 30 and then 31. So this is the formula of the spinal nerves. So we are going to deal which part of this segment of spinal cord. We are going to deal with the C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1. So from this we are taking these 5 segments: C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1. Now, before we just enter into brachial plexus, I will just go brief about two terms. One which we call as prefixed brachial plexus and postfixed brachial plexus. Prefixed brachial plexus, postfixed brachial plexus. Now, what do we mean by this? Why we deviate from here to here? Because not all individuals have this root of this brachial plexus. Some people may have root starting from the C4, some may have brachial plexus ending at T2. So if when it arises from C4 also, we call it as a prefixed. The word pre means which comes before the C5, so we call it as a prefixed brachial plexus. Now, if T2 is there, T2 is involved, we call it then as the post-fixed brachial plexus when T2 is involved. So, this is a prefixed brachial plexus and this is the post-fixed brachial plexus. So this was about the roots. Like we have something further about the roots here, but this is the prefixed brachial plexus when C4 is involved, and this is a post-fixed brachial plexus when T2 is also involved. So starting with the roots then, from the roots we know, like for convenience purpose I am just using the C4, because normally if the question comes from which are the roots, we say it's C5 to T1. Now if we start with C5, we take this as the roots. Then what we do, I'm going to just draw it first and then I'm going to explain it. So these are the roots C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1. Now, so from the roots we have to remember we get two nerves from here. From the roots we get two nerves. What are these two nerves? We have something called as dorsal scapular nerve. And the other one is long thoracic nerve, which is also sometimes called as nerve of Bell. Nerve of Bell. Okay, so two nerves, dorsal scapular nerve and long thoracic nerve. So what we do, we have to just put it in the diagram. Something which arises from the upper trunk, the upper root, from the upper root is called the dorsal scapular nerve. So this is my dorsal scapular nerve. Okay, next question, which muscle it supplies? It supplies the rhomboids. The rhomboids which lies on the anterior part of the chest wall, called the rhomboids. Now, long thoracic nerve, it will supply a very important muscle called the serratus anterior. Serratus anterior. So this is about the root. So root means from the C5. So I just missed one topic. So this long thoracic nerve is from the posterior division of C5, C6 and C7. So this serratus anterior or the long thoracic nerve is supplied by the posterior divisions of the root of C5, C6 and C7. So this is the long thoracic nerve which supplies the serratus anterior. So obviously if this nerve gets damaged, this muscle gets completely paralyzed. Okay, now moving on. So we are done with the roots. Just for simplicity, just explain. The roots means from C5 to T1, first point. Second point, we get two nerves from here, dorsal scapular nerve and long thoracic nerve. Dorsal scapular nerve, it supplies the rhomboids. Long thoracic nerve supplies my serratus anterior. Okay, then after root, we enter into the trunk. I'm going to just place a tick on root since we finished it. We come down to the trunk part. Trunk is, we divide into the superior trunk, middle trunk and the inferior trunk. Superior means above, middle means in between them, inferior means below. So superior trunk, medial trunk and inferior trunk. Now, like root wise, trunk gives me two nerves. Again two nerves. These two nerves are, it's very easy to remember, we call it as the S nerves. So we have the suprascapular nerve and we have the nerve to subclavius. We have the suprascapular nerve and we have the nerve to subclavius. Now obviously subclavius means just below the clavicle we have the subclavius muscle which is supplied by this nerve which comes out from the superior trunk called the nerve to subclavius. We can just draw a root like this. This is the nerve, this is suprascapular nerve which supplies the superior part of the scapular nerve, which muscles are part of the rotator cuff, which will come later on. So basically this supplies the superior part of the scapula and this supplies beneath the clavicle to the muscle called subclavius. So in trunk we get two nerves called the S nerves, the suprascapular nerve and nerve to the subclavius, the S nerves. So we just place here, this is suprascapular nerve and we place one nerve here called the nerve to subclavius. So this was about the trunk. So after trunk we come into the division. Division, first and foremost, there are no nerves coming out from here, so nothing to remember. We just have to remember this superior trunk, middle, inferior trunk. They will give us an anterior and a posterior division. The word anterior means it's in front, posterior means it's at back. So anterior division of the superior trunk and the anterior division of the middle trunk, they will give my upper division. So they will give my upper division. Now, lower division will be given by the anterior division of the inferior trunk, and finally what we get is something called the posterior of all the trunks. Means the posterior, I will give the posterior marked as dotted lines. The posterior division of my superior trunk, the posterior division of my middle trunk, and the posterior division of my inferior trunk will eventually give me a superior division, middle division and inferior division. So it's very easy. Upper division is formed by the anterior division of the superior trunk. Inferior division is given by the anterior division of the inferior trunk, and middle division is given by the, or the posterior division is given by the posterior divisions of my superior, middle and inferior divisions. So this is done with the division, and there are no nerves coming out from here. Now this continues into my final part called the cords. We come into the cords. Now this we call it as the, actually it's better to draw with a dotted line because this is posterior. So this is my lateral cord, posterior cord, and this is my medial cord. So we have finished root, we have finished trunk, we have finished division. Now we come to the cords. Cords, we have three types: lateral, posterior and medial. And the medial. Now first thing first, from cords we have 13 nerves. There are 13 nerves coming out from the lateral cord, posterior cord and the middle cord. From the lateral cord we have only 3 nerves. From the posterior cord we have 5 nerves. From the medial cord we have 5 nerves. Okay. It's very important to remember the names of this, like what are the names of these 13 nerves. So we start off with the lateral cord. Now, lateral cord will give me, I remember with a mnemonic called LML, lateral cord. Lateral cord, L will give me lateral pectoral nerve. M is musculocutaneous nerve, and L stands for lateral root of the median nerve. Lateral root of the median nerve. So this is the lateral cord, which gives me 3 nerves called the lateral pectoral nerve, musculocutaneous nerve and lateral root of median nerve, remembered by the mnemonic LML. Then we come into the medial cord. The medial cord will give me also 5 nerves, and I remembered by mnemonic M4U. So there are 4 nerves starting with M and 1 starts with U. So what are these 4 M? We start with first nerve is, we start with, since we have a lateral pectoral nerve here from the lateral cord, so we have what? We have a medial pectoral nerve from the medial cord. Then we have the cutaneous nerves of my arm and my forearm. Since it's a medial cord, we have a medial cutaneous nerve of arm. Arm means extending from the shoulder joint to your elbow joint. Then we have since it's something called arm, medial side, we have medial cutaneous nerve of forearm. One which extends from the elbow joint to the wrist joint, called the medial cutaneous nerve of the forearm. Means this medial side of our body in the forearm is supplied by this nerve, and this medial side of a skin of arm is supplied by the medial cutaneous nerve of arm. And finally, we have, if you remember, we said the lateral root of median nerve from the lateral cord. So we must be having a medial nerve or the medial cord or the medial root of median nerve. So median nerve is formed by what? A lateral root from median nerve from the lateral cord, and the medial root of the median nerve from the medial cord. And finally, U stands for ulnar nerve. U stands for the word ulnar nerve. So we have finished the lateral cord, given 3 nerves given by the mnemonic LML: lateral pectoral nerve, muscular cutaneous nerve, lateral root of the median nerve. Medial cord, we get 5 nerves, M4U, remember by the mnemonic M4U, medial pectoral, the medial pectoral nerve, medial cutaneous nerve of the arm, medial cutaneous nerve of the forearm, median root of the median nerve, and finally the ulnar nerve. Now, lastly we are left with the posterior cord. We have remembered by the mnemonic ulnar, 5 nerves we have here. U stands for upper subscapular nerve. L stands for lower subscapular nerve. N stands for nerve to the latissimus dorsi. A stands for my axillary nerve, and R stands for my radial nerve. So hereby we finish the 30 nerves what we said initially. 3 nerves from the lateral cord, 5 nerves from medial cord, 5 from the ulnar cord. Sorry, from the posterior cord. Remember by the mnemonic, the posterior cord, we remember the mnemonic called the ulnar. Remember, this U doesn't stand for ulnar. This U means the upper subscapular nerve, L lower subscapular nerve, N nerve to latissimus dorsi, A for axillary nerve, R for the radial nerve. Now, so this is a brief, the gross anatomy of the brachial plexus. Now to finish off, I will just say a few things about, like, where does this entire thing lie in the body. It starts from the neck, it comes out between 2 muscles called the scaleus anterior and the scaleus medius. From there it goes behind the subclavian, behind the clavicle. Behind the clavicle what you have is the, so you have one part, if this is your clavicle, we have the supraclavicular part of the brachial plexus, we have the infraclavicular part of the brachial plexus. Subclavicle, so supraclavicular part of the brachial plexus, infraclavicular part of the brachial plexus, which then goes into the axilla, eventually it supplies the arm. First point. Second point which I want to give you, to make you understand, I have said to you the trunk gives an anterior division and the posterior division, which is marked by the dotted lines. The anterior divisions, the trunk's anterior divisions will be supplied by to my anterior compartment. Means the anterior compartment of my arm, my forearm, will be supplied by my anterior divisions. Similarly, the posterior, marked with the dotted lines, will supply the posterior compartment of my arm and my forearm. So this is just to remember. So this anterior divisions will be giving supply to my anterior compartment of my arm, forearm, and the posterior divisions will supply my posterior compartment of my arm and forearm. Now, finally, we are left with few applied anatomy, like what we are applying clinically every day. We have 2 points to know. One is called the Klumpke's point. Other is called the Erb's point. Very important. A lot has been asked from here in our various competitive exams. Klumpke's point and Erb's point. Okay. So what happens here? We have in the trunk part, this is the upper trunk or the superior trunk, and this is the inferior trunk. So this point is called my Erb's point, and this point is called my Klumpke's point. So any lesion here in Klumpke's point, what we have a disease or we have a syndrome, collection of symptoms, we call it as the Horner syndrome. So, just to remember, this is just applied part, that injury to this trunkius point here in the inferior trunk will give rise to a syndrome called the Horner syndrome, where we have 4 characteristic symptoms like meiosis. Meiosis means the cilia, means the iris gets constricted. Meiosis. We have anhydrosis, means no sweating. We have ptosis, and we have enophthalmos. So this is Horner syndrome. Finally, we come into the 2 important things. Is what will happen if radial nerve gets paralyzed, or like it gets palsy. Means in palsy, the word palsy means, if I say radial nerve palsy, the word palsy means weakness. Weakness means the muscles which it supplies. See, radial nerve comes from the posterior cord, so it supplies the posterior compartment of arm and forearm. So weakness will be occurring in this muscle areas. So what we have, when radial nerve becomes damaged, we get something, a condition called wrist drop. Means our wrist will be dropped like this. We have a normal wrist like this. When it gets like this, we call it as a radial nerve palsy, wrist drop. This other condition, something we call as claw hand. Claw hand means your hand becomes like this. So what 2 nerves are involved? We have 2 nerves from here. One is called the ulnar nerve. Since this part is like this, so anterior part has to be involved. So we have the ulnar nerve and we have the median nerve, which is formed by the median root of the median nerve and the lateral root of the median nerve. So it's very easy. Claw hand is the weakness of the ulnar nerve and the median nerve. And finally, which is sometimes asked in exams, what are the root values of some nerve? You don't have to remember the entire thing. You have to remember few nerves. Starting with, what is the root value of muscular cutaneous nerve? It's very easy to remember if you know the diagram. This comes from the lateral cord. So this comes from this 3. So the root value of this nerve is C5, C6 and C7. This is a root value of muscular cutaneous nerve. Similarly, the radial nerve comes from all the 3 posterior divisions. So it has the all the root values. So root values of radial nerve is C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1. Similarly, for axillary nerve, we have only C5 and C6 as the root value. And finally, for the so this is in short. I tried to explain what is called brachial plexus, and I think this much knowing in a first year level is quite much. As I myself, I don't think I have studied so much in my first year. So that's it, the brachial plexus. Thank you.